There's been a lot of noise about the additions of Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi, but could John Klingberg be the secret weapon to the Maple Leafs having any type of playoff success this season? What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. We are back for another update from Toronto Maple Leafs camp, and yes, today was the first official day of the players being all on ice together. We see a bunch of tweets coming out from Mark Masters and Chris Johnson and Elliot Friedman, and all the insiders are down at Ford Center down there watching camp begin for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's exciting stuff. So we're going to break down all the news that's coming out here on this channel over the next couple of weeks as we lead into preseason and then obviously kick things off for the regular season. But before I get into any of that, I want to remind people here that this video is brought to you by rentals.ca. Rentals.ca is Canada's largest apartment hunting network. You can rent apartments, houses, and condos across the entire country from coast to coast. I'm talking Toronto, Calgary, Montreal, Vancouver, Ottawa, Winnipeg, Halifax, just to name a few. The website is clean and easy to use, so make sure to head over there, rentals.ca. If you are looking to move out, if you're looking for a new place, whatever the situation is, make sure to check out rentals.ca. When I was moving to this new apartment, that was the first place that I went to start to narrow down my search. So check out rentals.ca. And if you are 18 plus and not a resident of Quebec, sorry to those from the Habs Digest coming over here, or people in Quebec who are just Leafs fans, but Quebec residents and 18 plus, if you sign up using the link in the description of this video here, you will be entered in a chance to win a free month of rent. So don't miss out on the opportunity. Go sign up now. Click the link in the description. So let's get into the topics here for today's videos, starting with camp day one, the first big update that I have seen. John Klingberg on the first power play unit, or at least practicing with the guys from the first power play unit, that is. I'm putting my own spin on it. I'm speculating here, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. Mark Masters puts out this tweet after main practice wraps. New assistant coach Guy Boucher, who will oversee the power plays, feeding Austin Matthews. New D-man John Klingberg setting up Mitch Marner. So that's kind of an interesting little thing there. Maybe it's not so much something to make a whole big fuss about. Maybe it's just actually nothing, and John Klingberg is just out there because he wants to do work after practice as well, and he's out there with Matthews and Marner, who are other guys who want to work after practice, or maybe Klingberg's going to be on power play too, and he's like, you know what, this helps me anyways. I don't think so. Truthfully, I think there's a little bit more to this. Mark Masters obviously included the following clip where you can see Guy Boucher passing one-timer passes over to Austin Matthews and John Klingberg at the left side of your screen there passing over to Mitch Marner as both of them alternate taking one-timer shots kind of from the Ovechkin spot on the ice. So a little bit of an interesting development there, as obviously in the past Marner hasn't been much of a shooter. And Austin Matthews hasn't really played too much on his opposite side in a one-time position. So that in of itself is kind of interesting. But to me, I'm making more of a deal about the John Klingberg position and where he is in this practice or in this post-practice drill that they're doing. Now, if you're wondering why this is significant, let's get into this second part here. The Leafs power play history. If you are not familiar, it's time to get familiar. The Toronto Maple Leafs have had historically one of the best power plays in the NHL over the past few seasons. A lot of that is obviously going to come from the offensive firepower of the likes of John Tavares, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, you name it. Those are some of the best goal scorers, playmakers, point getters in the NHL, and if you put them all in one position where the other team has one less player on the ice, well, no duh, they're probably going to be in a spot where they could score more than the other team. So, naturally, they're going to have a pretty good power play. But the issue with the Leafs power play in the past has been more staleness. Not their ability to score or generate points or whatever it is, but they go through stretches where it becomes excruciatingly painful and slow to watch because there is a lack of passing, or there is a serious amount of overpassing, and guys won't shoot the puck, or guys are taking bad shots, and they go kind of swings from either end of the spectrum. And obviously there's ups and downs, but when you're going to have a successful power play like that you're going to carry into the playoffs, you want to avoid, if the top is the best that you can get on your power play and the bottom is the worst that you could get on your power play, you don't want to be constantly swinging from top to bottom. You want to get to the best that you could get at, but when you're going to go down and you're going to have a bad time, you don't want to be holding into that worst that you could be for a longer period of time, because holding into that spot, if you happen to hit it during the playoffs, well, guess what? You're screwed. And we've seen that with the Leafs power play over the past couple of seasons. It started in the series against Montreal, where their power play was atrocious. They were one of the worst power plays, if not the worst power play in the playoffs that season. And then it kind of just carried through, where you're looking at this team who had one of the best power plays, so offensively effective on the power play. And then all of a sudden in the playoffs, it was irrelevant. Almost actually to the point where it started to generate momentum for the other team, because they're going out there, they're killing off 2 minutes, 4-minute penalties. And then you're out there now, you've killed it off, you're in the playoffs, you're in a fired up environment, you got momentum, you're going the other way. And this, all of a sudden, power plays became a net negative to this Leafs team. You can't have that. It's unacceptable. So what you got to look for is a level of consistency. You don't want to have way too high of peaks where you hit it for a little bit and then you just drop down and you hit rock bottom and then you go right back up. Find a level of consistency. If you're going to be operating at a certain percentage, try to stay around that percentage, not up and down, because we saw way too big of fluctuations. Now, a little bit more of the actual history of this power play, and I'll lead into where I'm going to with John Klingberg here, but when Tyson Barrie came to the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think a lot of people were kind of under the impression of like, hey, we got this offensive defenseman here now who's going to come in and make a massive impact for this team offensively. Well, clearly, Mr. Mike Babcock had a different idea in mind. He did not get along with Tyson Barrie for whatever reason, didn't like his style of play, didn't appreciate the offense, didn't appreciate the fact that maybe he didn't bring enough defense, whatever it was. Mike Babcock did not enjoy Tyson Barrie's presence here on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So he was not utilized in a first power play role, and then he was rather ineffective at his time on 5-on-5. It kind of deteriorated his confidence and his ability to actually make any type of impact with this Leafs team during that period of time. And then ultimately at the end of the season, out the door, and it makes that trade from Nazem Kadri look a billion times worse. Not even just because Kerfoot stayed after the fact, but because the time with Tyson Barrie here really just did not pan out. Then you kind of look again, you're like, all right, Tyson Barrie came, it wasn't what we thought it was going to be, he's gone now. Morgan Rielly, you're our offensive defenseman. We all know Morgan Rielly has his flaws defensively. So what does he got to bring? Offensive play. Well, Morgan Rielly's not necessarily the most creative player in the world. He's not the guy who's going to bring that every single time he steps out on the ice, whether it's for a power play, at 5-on-5, whatever it is, and he's got the defensive deficiencies. So when you see this power play go into a stalemate for an extra period of time, you have a guy up top on the power play who's really hesitant to shoot the puck or isn't going to engage into the offense as much, where he's going to be as mobile, creating things in the offensive zone there, that can kind of contribute to the staleness of the power play. Now here's where we're going for the final piece of this and why this might be the Maple Leafs' secret weapon. I saw a lot of people complaining this summer saying, why would we add John Klingberg? This team sucks defensively. Well, are they the greatest team defensively in the world? No, they're not. I'm not going to sit here and try to lie to you or overdo it or whatever it may be. They're not. They're not that great defensively. But when we've got to the playoffs over the past couple seasons, you can debate me on it. And if you want to debate me on it, feel free to do so in the comments of this video. While you're at it, make sure to subscribe here to this channel, Leafs Digest. You get more videos like this throughout the preseason, through training camp, into preseason, and then into regular season, obviously. So make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. But let me know in the comments if you disagree with my thoughts. Look, reality is the fact that they're not that great defensively hasn't really killed them in the playoffs in years past. Everyone wants to look and say, oh, they're not big, they're not bruisers, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, okay, that's your opinion, but you don't have to have that defensively. Look at Colorado. When they won the Stanley Cup, their defense isn't necessarily big, massive bruisers. They've got Devon Taves and Cale Makar who can really push you over the top, Bowen Byram, Sam Girard, but these guys aren't like out of this world incredible defensively. They are good defensemen. Cale Makar, obviously very good. Devon Toews, very good defenseman, to put it lightly, essentially. But it's not like as a core, they were just this juggernaut defense where you just could never score on them. But what their team is able to do as a whole was outscore the other team. Well, one of the biggest issues that the Leafs have run into in the playoffs over the past couple of seasons is lack of scoring. If you actually look at last season against Tampa Bay, in the first round that they lost in Game 7, when you go back to that series, they struggled with scoring. A lot of that comes down to Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares. Yes, you can obviously look to the secondary guys, but you're not really getting defensive contribution. So you're just not scoring, and now you're having to win 2-1 games, 3-2 games, and then people are like, oh, well, the defense should have stopped one more. It's like, well, okay, maybe they could have stopped one more, but also, where was the offense? Where was the offense for 7 games? John Klingberg, to me, is the guy who's going to change that. John Klingberg is the guy who completely eliminates the stale factor of this power play. Because the thing is, if Matthews goes cold for a little bit, Nylander, Marner, JT, one of these guys, or two of them at the same time, whatever it is, if they go stale, John Klingberg is another guy on the ice who's able to create offense like Morgan Rielly wasn't able to. John Klingberg is a offensive defenseman who's shown in the past his ability to quarterback a power play and take over on the blue line. I think John Klingberg could be one of those guys who steps into this Leafs lineup and makes a massive, massive impact offensively. And I think it primarily comes from the power play. I think people are going to look at him and say, well, he's not great at 5-on-5, whatever. No, he's not. He's not the greatest on 5-on-5 defensively. Maybe he's not the greatest offensively on 5-on-5 either. But I think he can make a massive impact on this team's power play unit. And I think that that can carry over to the playoffs where we've seen them struggle in the past. It's kind of given them an opportunity to flip momentum to the team that they're facing, Tampa, Florida, Boston, Montreal, whoever it is. They've kind of given it back because they're not able to score on these power plays. It's not going to happen anymore with John Klingberg, I don't think. I think he's the guy who can really mix things up. So, Leafs fans, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. While you're at it, obviously, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. If you do want to join the community here, please click that join button down below. You'll see it on your screens. You can join the channel members. Before we get into the season, we'll get a fantasy hockey, Leafs Digest fantasy hockey going. So make sure to join as a channel member before then. And as well, check out the link in our description if you want to enter for your chance to win a free month's rent. Reminder, must be 18 plus, not in Quebec, but check that out. Link in the description. Leafs fans, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, keep Leafing.